Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at 12461 Southwest King George Drive here in King City. Also 3-inch. Anyway, water's running up ahead here. We're going to zero out. Off we go. We're swapping right back over to copper. The rare and elusive copper pipe. It's an extraordinarily rare sewer pipe material. And generally speaking, it's very good pipe. Still use copper to this day for water supply lines. It's very solid stuff. And you almost, I've been doing this 13 years and cambered about 24 or 5,000 sewer lines, and King City is about the only place out there you will ever find the stuff, other than just random locations. Anyway, we're swapping over here now to cast iron pipe. Typically speaking, that looks like 4-inch cast. And then now we're into concrete pipe. Most concrete in general is typically speaking 4-inch. You sometimes get some oddity sizes from the olden days, like 3.5-inch cast iron, stuff like that. I'm eyeballing it, not using a tape measure. We are now into concrete pipe. This is the stuff we're going to take a good look at as we come back out. You've got some pretty heavy aggregate rock exposed here at this point. I have scoped about 300 houses over my career in King City. Unfortunately, at this point in time, most of the concrete pipe is wearing out. It's just at the end of its lifespan. You have what appears to be a root that you can see there's a cobweb there that's spanning left to right that's kind of floating around the air. Adjacent to that, though, is a thicker little white strand. That looks much more indicative of roots there. That's not a cobweb. And it's a little too short to be a piece of dental floss. We're making kind of a hard, wonky turn right here. Now this set of turns here, I think is going to do us in, unfortunately. Let's see if we can get past it or not. Yeah, we're going to stop here. I'm having to reef on my camera way too hard at this point. We've got either, on the left side here, we'll get a better view when the line drains out. You've either got a tie-in coming into the line, or you've got a very gaping wide open pipe joint. And you've got standing water in this location as well here. Alright, we got lucky here. So we are sitting at, as far as I can tell, this appears to be the actual main connection. The manhole in the driveway, we are tied directly into that right now. If you look through that manhole cover, you can see my camera sitting down there. So by all accounts, I would imagine that is where the line actually terminates. But as you can see, if we could continue on here, you would just keep going, moving forward. So I'm not sure if this is, if we've technically hit the main here. Being that it's a manhole, that would kind of be my assumption, but party lines are prevalent in King City as well, so I'm not sure how the city would look at that. All right, I pulled back just a little bit from the manhole, did a locate. I'm getting around 6 feet deep there. So you do have some standing water towards the end of the line, a little bit right here. This looks, as far as I can tell, part of it, this turn makes it really difficult to visually eyeball. It has the appearance like the line is belling out to 6-inch pipe here. It's hard to tell visually speaking on that one. All right, so right here is right where the line turns to come out from underneath the driveway. The line moves from right to left. It basically pops out the front right corner of the house, turns, shoots over to the driveway, and runs down the driveway to the manhole, just maybe a foot in from that right side edge of the driveway. I'm getting about 8 feet deep there, which is not making a ton of sense. The locate I got at the manhole, though, may have something to do with the fact the signal might be, some of the signal might be coming up through the void space there in the manhole, which is going to throw off the depth. So anyway, we'll get another locate here in a second. That pipe joint right there, you can see how all of a sudden the pipe goes from light to dark. That is an indicator that pipe joint is allowing groundwater to seep through, which is not surprising for pipe this age. Similar thing there, you can see the staining at the pipe joint. Moisture is getting in through that. Alright, so I'm going to probably wipe some of my markings. I'm going to recommend you relocate if you do any digging here. I'm getting some really odd depth changes. I'm like 6 feet deep near the manhole, 8 feet deep just up from it, and then 3 feet there. And the line does not feel or look like it's diving that hard, so I'm not sure if there's some kind of interference I'm dealing with here, but it just doesn't quite feel like it's, those depths make a lot of sense. The 3 foot depth mark there does. Most of King City lines are extremely shallow. So I'm going to leave the 6 foot marking there at the manhole. It's that 8 foot one that's I'm just not sure about. And you do have root penetration right here at the start of the concrete pipe, right as it turns. So just due to the age, the deterioration, you've got multiple pipe joints that are exposed to the ground, allowing groundwater to seep in. And what that does over time is leads to settling. It hydro erodes the soil from around the sewer pipe and causes it to drop. So the standing water right now is minimal enough. I think you can do an epoxy liner on this. I would look into that prospect. That will especially save money, and it's sad that brand new driveway there. If you can do a liner on it, even if you retain a tiny bit of standing water at the end of the line, it's insignificant anyway. Even in old rough beat up concrete like this, that standing water is hardly doing a thing to affect functionality. By the time you put a liner in it, make the pipe as smooth as glass, it's essentially completely insignificant at that point. So if it can be done, I would look into that type of repair system, but you do need to contact the city and find out how they're looking at this thing. It's just hard to gauge with that manhole where it's at, if this is a party line or if that's a city main it ties into there. I'm just not sure. Alright, so about 5 feet or so out from the front right corner. The line comes out a few feet in from that corner, but about 5 feet out from the house, you'll see a green T marking. It's a T marking / arrow that's turning. That's where the line turns, also where the root is, and it's about 1 foot 8 inches deep there. So the cast iron here, you've got the beginning stages. I mean, I would actually say it's more than beginning stages. You are getting, the pipe is channeling. That trough that's forming in the middle of the flow line there is where the metal is being eaten away. You can get a really good glance at it when you pull back to the transition right here where the metal's getting chewed up. So it hasn't been perforated through yet, but that also is at the end of its lifespan there. I'm going to locate this. In my 2 cents on this is if you're going to go out here and repair this thing, I would get rid of this cast iron. One, it's very rough. It can snag debris up as it comes through the line because of that jagged texture, but it's also at the end of its lifespan. That channeling also, it can get debris caught down into it because you don't have a smooth pipe bottom anymore. So that's, I would take that repair back to the transition. So that transition there is just barely inside the crawl space. Most of that cast iron there, probably 90% of it's on the exterior. There is a little bit of it though that looks like it's either under the foundation wall or just on the other side, the crawl space side of the foundation wall. I rest at this point, it's very worn out, it perforates. That really rough, jagged texture is prone to snagging debris up. Granted, a lot of these homes don't have high occupancy in them. When you have just 1 or 2 people, that doesn't always act up, you know, versus a household like mine that's got 4 kids in it, 6 people total. You have a higher volume, higher likelihood of debris getting hung up. But while you're out here, it's hardly any extra work to take that repair an extra 5 feet. But because it does go through the foundation, generally speaking, it goes from excavator to an actual plumber once you're within 5 feet of the foundation of the home and back into the inside. So you may have to do that in conjunction with a plumber, but this is the time to do it. You're already going to have this all dug up. It's only 1.5 feet deep there. So I would highly recommend getting rid of the cast iron at the same time. I recommend all cast iron and concrete pipe within homeowner responsibility be updated due to the condition, deterioration of it. I highly recommend a rescope afterwards to check the work. And that cast iron can also be epoxy lined. It's got good slope and grade. There's no sloping issues there. So you can look into that prospect as well. You're probably going to have to install a two-way clean out on the outside first. But you could look into that, you know, see which makes the most sense, what's the most cost effective. If it makes more sense to dig it up, do that. However it's done, I would recommend the line get updated. But because it's remained in slope and grade, it's one that I would recommend looking into that prospect. If you let these lines sit for too long, especially when they start to get exposed to the ground, they don't stay that way for forever. Eventually they will drop and start settling on you. And then you'll lose your ability to do a liner. All the copper and ABS pipe, all that's in good shape and has good flow.